Papa Pepper Garden Tour, 6/21/18.
Alright guys, Papa Pepper here in the garden again. I figured I might start trying to do like a weekly garden update. Not sure what all I'll be getting done. I'd like to get a lot done on a weekly basis, but if nothing else, the plants will be growing. So recently, what do we got going on? Just picked up a bunch of these. These are just 40 cents and quarter worth of a variety of plants. Some more peppers, some okra, some watermelons, some eggplant, just stuff that I had either room for or didn't get going myself, but for 40 cents or a quarter, good stuff to pick up. I'd rather spend that tiny bit of money on it and use it than just let it die at the store. This is still a bunch of the compost we got for free. I've been adding some to a variety of the beds. Those are my gack fruit, which this is their third season growing. Started them from seed. We'll see how they do. The pitayas are just going crazy, my dragon fruit. These guys, a lot of new growth. Still at a point where I'm just letting them sprout off wherever, and I'll deal with them better in the future, but for right now I'm just using a lot of these. I just pruned a ton of these off this year, and it's giving me a bunch for the next year too. So here's the hops, and the hops is doing incredible. It's ran up to the top of the wire in most of the places, and still getting a ton of new shoots. I haven't eaten any of these shoots yet, but they are edible, and I'm probably going to be trying them before too long. And then underneath here, you can see they are flowering. They're actually, making the hops. So let's see if we can get that. Adjust camera. Yeah, there we go. So that stuff's starting, and let's see, someone's calling. It's probably nothing. And it's nothing. So here's one. I got a couple little parsleys going that my wife had, but I think the black tiger swallowtail larvae was eating them down. And this line of stuff is my dwarf tamarillos. So in front of the hops there, we've got the dwarf tamarillos. Those are really cool. Found those at Baker Creek. They're doing really well, and what I like is even these ones got nibbled down by some sort of plant or some sort of pest, some sort of animal, and they're still regrowing, so I love that. They would otherwise be this tall, but at least they're still going, still growing. Here's where I'm trying my two brothers experiment. A lot of you guys have heard of the three sisters, where you grow your corn with your pole beans running up them and then squash at the bottom. Here I figured if I put some tomatoes on each side, because I'm done with tomato cages, I'm just using fencing now, running them up that. So I got beefsteak on this side, chocolate cherry, and yellow pear on the other side, with the corn in the middle. And so far, the corn still has a foot to 18 inches, even on the beefsteak, which are doing really good. So I figured the corn would be able to get up high enough and do its thing, and just have some tomatoes on the outside. So really, this is pretty dense growing. So far, it's working good. We'll have to see how the harvest is. I think the corn is actually going to be just fine and do great. And I'm thinking the tomatoes, I probably could have planted half this many. I only think in this row of about 8 feet, I've got 8 plants. So probably could have done about half that, especially when I show you over there my other ones, but it is what it is. We went with it. This is all ghost peppers here. Got some mullein growing there with a little bit of tobacco underneath it. Here's where we finally got in some sweet potatoes we'd been meaning to for a while. I'm gonna just put in a small fence here and a small fence at the end. Let the vines grow this way and up. And then I still do have pruning to do here. We're gonna still eliminate some branches on these trees. Probably make them look more like these ones, where they don't have a branch till they're about 15 or 20 feet up. That's kind of the goal for a lot of the trees we're keeping in this general area. Cold hardy kiwis still got to get in the ground. The potatoes are doing great. They're a variety of russets and baby reds and stuff like that, but they're still going. Cacti full of weeds, still got to get those in. Here is where I got my Korean goji berries going. These are going to be a perennial plant that continues to come back for year after year. So all those little guys are Korean goji berries, and I'm going to have some beets and stuff sprouting up in here. They're kind of a wispy plant, so I'm just going to train them up this and let them be for years. Still got service berries to get in the ground. A few varieties of tomatoes. That looks like a dwarf tamarillo. Some more Korean goji berries, some more cucumbers, more tobacco that I can all plant. These two hoops are kiwanos. So the African horned jelly melon. This one's doing really good. It's taller than me already at the top. We're running up, and these guys are great. I love them. They're really fun. We like eating them, so I've got these growing. We'll see how they do. This is my my green corn, so it's actually going to have a green kernel corn. Very cool. Got some from Marianne West. Some of them are going up higher, but as you see, there's kind of a slant to this whole thing as they come out to where there's more sun. So still got pruning to do there on the main trees. A little bit of stinging nettle in the corner. Horseradish at my feet, doing fine. Couple tobacco plants. These are my scorpion peppers growing here with some Manchurian apricots and then the Asta berries right there. So eventually the Manchurian apricots will be growing up over the top, the Asta berries at the bottom, and we'll still grow things around there. I did just seed this with some amarillo yellow carrots the other day, so I'll keep that watered, keep it going. Here I've got a couple mulberry trees, but I see the goats are reaching through and nibbling them back pretty good. This fencing is actually a temporary fencing. I'm actually going to run a utility panel here and then eventually fill it, just space it maybe a foot at the bottom, a foot apart, 2 panels, and bring it up to, I don't know, maybe 6 inches or more at the top, so it's kind of a like this shape, and just fill it with rock and just have a rock border here between this pasture and the garden. We've got the yellow raspberries from Shalom Acres coming across here. Here, aronia with some white currants, some onions growing underneath them, a couple marigolds. Here is our one bed of strawberries. Ooh, those look good. And they are also from Shalom Acres. So about 3 months ago we put them in. A couple of tobacco plants growing in them. But you can see, nice, beautiful fruit. And this section is still one I've got to deal with. Obviously I never mulched it, so everything else is growing back hard. Here we got a couple of the red currants, some purple ice plants. Oh yeah, look at that flower. So that one I'm going to feature later. There's a lot of good reasons why I'm growing purple ice plants. They're not just for looks, but then with that much mulch too. This is probably an old pecan tree or black walnut, but when it's got 6 inches to go before it reaches the top, they're easier to weed and uproot. These are kind of some of just the bigger wire hoops I made, so I wouldn't be using tomato cages. We'll see how they do. There's a couple big tobaccos in by my rhubarb. This one is a big long line of the gooseberries, the natural gooseberries growing around here. Here I've got some mulberries. I think a couple of them actually died out, but the back 2 are still going. And I'm actually going to try to prune them like a hedge and see if I can't just have a hedge of mulberries with some lemon balm growing underneath it. That whole root there is some different berries with some cabbage growing underneath it. That's of course a whole pile of trees that still have to get in. Like I said, this area I've still got I probably just could put up a temporary goat cage here, let them eat it down to nothing, and then dump mulch on top of it, but we got some work to do. So here's a couple Carolina Reapers, nice pepper, a couple apricot trees, and then some comfrey growing in that one. These guys here are my Chinese red noodle beans, and they're already, pretty much wrapping these things up. You can see them growing up there. Soon they'll have the noodle beans growing down. It looks like we're already getting some. I mean, that's what these guys are here, guys. These are baby Chinese red noodle beans. So definitely one of the ones that we love, we appreciate, we really like. They work incredibly well for us down here. These are more ghost peppers with an apricot in the middle. You can see I got a lot of apricots growing here. There'll be more fruit trees other places too. Here's that cucumber coming in, and try to train these guys up and over. This is all popcorn here. A little dense, but I'm seeing how it works. These are my Sugar Rush peach peppers, and these are actually some little cherry trees. with I think some beets planted over there we just got in, and then onions on this side. This, of course, is my gourd tunnel. And you can see the big one, the big snake gourd. I think we're gonna eat today or tomorrow. But wow, that thing is, that's a big gourd. And they'll get like 5 feet or more eventually, which is why I've got them up so high. And these guys are starting to get bigger and dangling too. So it'll fill in, it'll come down. Bottle gourds coming in on this side, the birdhouse gourds. This is why I didn't want to do tomato cages anymore. If you look, I mean, that's two tomato plants. If I come up next to it, you know, this is what we're dealing with, guys. There's no way a tomato cage could contain those. Here's grapes and strawberries. Still working on the cold hardy kiwi trellis. Sunchokes, my hominy, variety pepper bed. This is going to be trifoliate citrus and rhubarb. This is, well, that's a big wasp. Malabar spinach, and there's going to be carrots growing on the side of it. Hopefully this stuff will shoot up pretty good. This is going to be one of my permanent ones where we've got apricots with currant bushes underneath, and then the ground will be covered with strawberries eventually. We've got the, what kind of grapes are those again? Muscadine grapes. That'll eventually replace that. The tomatoes are just a temporary thing, but again, that's just 2 tomato plants. They're already starting to come in really well here. And again, all this area is going to be turned into garden too. We're going to have the sorghum on that side, red corn over here, black beans in the front. All this has recently been pretty well mowed. You can actually see exactly the line of where it was right across here, as where the goats have worked through. So we just got 3 little guys and a little girl just mowing through this area for us. Got some plans for that for the future. The Jacob sheep are doing their job on that side of the fence, and all that's actually going to be garden eventually as well. The rabbits are kind of keeping things, because guys, I can only run to town so many times and get mulch in a week, and depending on what I'm using, the amount I can grab is limited. I've got a chipper shredder. I've got a lot of branches and stems and sticks that we're going to be chipper shredding as well. But in between all these raised beds is just going to be a nice layer of mulch. It just takes a while to get there. So when you kind of come across stuff and you don't do anything with it, all that green weeds grow back. So they're just feeding my animals, so putting it to purpose. But this is of course the drive-through right through. So we're just going to have a drive path all the way around. Got some plans for that area up there too on the other side, but just using it as a food source for the Jacob sheep, and then the goats soon enough to take care of. So they've got something to do, and they kind of suppress the land at the time being until I can turn it into garden. So just got this new bed up the other day, and going to be growing some of the loofah gourds on each side of this. Got some plans for the future, the rest of it, but one day at a time, one step at a time. That's kind of a 13.5-minute garden update anyway. So you can see it's growing, things are coming in, excited, starting to reap that harvest. So that's where we get to reap what we've sown. All right, pop out. As always, I'm Papa Pepper, and I'd like to remind you, don't post for free. If you'd like to be part of a revolution in social media, an economic power to the people where users can actually blog for cryptocurrency, then I'd recommend that you check out steemit.com and join the revolution. Papa out.